Hello YouTube, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to do more vintage comic books and we will do the Huntress, and this is in kind of the Batman universe of characters for DC. Full disclosure, I work for Warner Brothers. We have a licensing deal with DC, but my channel is in no way, shape, or form associated with DC or Warner Brothers. No one has asked me to do this. This is just a collection that I've had and that I started well before I even worked at Warner Brothers. I have been collecting comic books since I was a kid. My older brother kind of got me started into it, and then later on I just got back into it. And so let's just get started with the Huntress number 5. And as you can see, this says DC Comics aren't just for kids. And with the Huntress, you will see why, because this one is from 1989, and this is the Huntress number 1, and in it we meet Helena Bertinelli, and we find out about all these secrets and tragedies that have occurred in her life. So it's not necessarily really for kids because, you know, she was kidnapped as a child, and her family was murdered by the mafia when she was in college, and, well, It's also important to note that, sorry, I'm going to go off on a tangent, but it's important to note that Helena Bertinelli is the third Huntress. So the Huntress number 1 is the first appearance of the third Huntress. She's, the Huntress actually came out in kind of the golden age of comic books in kind of the 1930s, 1940s area. I have more than one copy of the Huntress number 5. This one is number 4, and it's a 19-issue series, and in it the Huntress tracks down her family's murderers, and it's set in Manhattan. And as you can see, one of the things that it does that's kind of interesting is that you kind of get the writer's take on what it is to be in Manhattan in the 1980s, kind of in the seedier side, because in the different comic books she has to go through there's a turf war. In this one, there's a turf war going on between the Little Italy and Chinatown, and her quest kind of gets her involved in that. It's kind of a gritty looking cover here for number 3. And as you can see, I have multiple copies of number 3. I mean, there's even an area in Manhattan, it may be based upon Hell's Kitchen, I'm not quite certain, but she goes, she finds this woman named La Bruja who practices voodoo. So it gets a little bit gritty and just a little bit, quote-unquote, scary. But after she finally finds the killer that she's looking for, and she exacts her revenge, because she's a very kind of vengeful person, which, hey, if your family gets killed by the mafia, you kind of understand why. She even has a bodyguard that who has taught her how to fight, and he's got all these secrets associated with her past. And when she finally exacts her revenge upon the killers, and as you can see, I have issue number 1 as well, she gets her family's inheritance kind of at the same time as she finds out the killer. And part of the inheritance is her father's diary. And her father's diary is actually the target of a search or a hunt from a serial killer. So she finally gets through all this. She's been molested as a child by the people who kidnapped her just to basically torture her dad. Then her family gets killed. She finally finds the killer. She gets revenge upon the killer. And now she's being stalked by a crazed serial killer who's willing to, you know, serial kill to get that diary that her father wrote. It's just like, can the woman get a break? No, not at all. No. Yeah. And like I said, it's in the Batman universe of characters, so you can get Batman, Robin, and those type of characters in this particular series. And she and Batman kind of agree to be on the same side and yet different sides of the good guy, bad guy scenario. And just kind of her need for vengefulness and revenge just pits her against him at times. And that's what I've got. I'm going to also give you, as usual, just kind of the values of this Huntress. Like I said, I usually only pay about $1 or so for these. And I will see you next time. Bye.